Baileys and mousse, a combination you wouldn't think that works, but trust me, it does. G'day, welcome to Todd's Kitchen. It's almost Christmas and who doesn't love a little drink now and then? Especially Baileys because it's so chocolatey and so delicious. So join me today as I make my version of a Baileys chocolate mousse. And don't forget to check out toddskitchen.com for my wonderful merchandise for this Christmas. Okay, so we're going to start this off with 2 tablespoons of gelatin. Now you can also use 2 tablespoons of agar, it's completely up to you. So to the 2 tablespoons of gelatin, I'm going to add equal amounts of cold water. So 2 tablespoons of cold water. And just give that a quick mix through, just so we can soak up the water. And we're just going to let that sit there for just a couple of minutes, just so all the gelatin is soaked up, all that water. Okay, so it's been a few minutes. So now I'm going to add a 1/4 cup of boiling hot water. Just add that in, and we're just going to stir to combine. Okay, so next into a bowl, I'm going to place in 1/2 cup of sugar, followed by 2 tablespoons of cocoa powder, and feel free to add a little bit more if you like. Then to that, 1½ cups of thickened or whipping cream or even double cream. And then with a hand or stand mixer, we're going to whip this up until we get to the soft peak stage. Okay, so once we're at the soft peak stage, next I'm going to add in a teaspoon of vanilla extract, then our gelatin mixture, and then finally 1/2 cup of Baileys Irish cream. And if you don't have any at home, feel free to check the link down below or at the end of the video to my video on how to make your own Baileys Irish cream. Now just simply mix it through until it's well combined. So now all we have to do is just spoon our mixture into our desired serving dish. Now just look how fluffy that is. Fluffy and all bouncy and perfect. Now once it's in the dish, just simply place it into the fridge for a good hour to completely set. And there we have it, an incredibly simple, easy and absolutely deliciously creamy Baileys mousse. Best served chilled of course, but it is so creamy, so fluffy, so delicious. So this is a perfect dessert for not only Christmas but any time of the year. And if you want to save some money or you don't have Baileys in your area, I'll leave a link in the description below to my video on how to make your own Baileys. So it's even better. But whether you use homemade Baileys or Baileys from the shops, either way, it's going to taste simply delish. So check out the link on the screen to my Baileys video. And please do me a huge favour by leaving a comment on this video and giving it a thumbs up. And as always, I'll leave the ingredients in the description as well as links to my Facebook, Twitter, Instagram and Home Handy Hints channel. And I'll catch you next time for another delicious recipe. Okay, so for the best results, we're going to use a blender for this recipe. So into the blender, we're going to pour in 3/4 cup of whiskey. Now you can use any brand that you like, that's really up to you. Then 1 whole can or 395 grams of sweetened condensed milk. Then about 400 ml of thickened cream or heavy cream or whipping cream. It also works out to about 1½ cups worth. Then about 2 tablespoons of chocolate sauce. And this is optional, but about a teaspoon of coconut essence. And we're just going to mix this through on low until it's well combined. And there we have it, our homemade Baileys. Now feel free to adjust the chocolate and the coconut. Just simply add more or less until you get it to your liking. Now if you're not going to have this straight away, just place it into a sealed container in the fridge and it'll last as long as the use by date on the cream. But it sure is a lot cheaper making your own, especially when you have a lot of recipes at home that you want to use it in for Christmas recipes. But let's give it a try and see what it's like. Oh, that is very good. Ooh, baby. Now it's as strong as a normal Baileys, so what you want to do is if you're going to have it by itself, I recommend that you water it down with some milk, just like you would with a normal Baileys. But of course if you like it strong, well, then you can have it straight, that's no issue. But the best part about this homemade Baileys is, compared to the normal Baileys that you buy at the shops, is that it still tastes simply delish. So I have a pot on the stove on a low heat, so we're going to start off by placing in 350 grams of sugar, followed by 50 ml of milk, then 30 grams of butter, and finally I'm going to use some Baileys. They can buy it in most alcohol shops, but if you can't find it, just follow my link down below to my video on how to make your own at home. So I have a total of 150 ml of Baileys, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add about 3/4 of it. So we're just going to save just some for later on. So we're just going to stir this over the low heat until the sugar and the butter is completely dissolved. Okay, so everything has been completely dissolved. Now what I've done is I've just raised it up to a medium heat, don't put it any higher, and we wanted to let it simmer away for exactly 10 minutes. If you find that it starts to boil, just turn it down a bit. So during that 10 minutes, we're just going to keep on slowly stirring it, and that'll just prevent anything from burning on the bottom and keep it all nice and level. And if you find that it starts to boil, just turn it down slightly because you only want a very slight simmer. Okay, so it's been 10 minutes, now I've just turned the heat off. So what we're going to do now is pour in the rest of our Baileys. And I can tell you right now, this whole kitchen smells like Baileys, it's actually pretty nice. And then into that we're going to place in 200 grams of white chocolate. Now I'm using cooking chocolate, but you can use the other one, it's not a lot of difference. And we're going to stir this around until the chocolate has completely melted. Okay, so once that's completely mixed through, I've just got a tray here and I've lined the base with non-stick baking paper. So it's just a simple matter of pouring in our fudge mixture. Okay, so once it's all poured in, we're simply going to place this into the fridge for a good 3 hours to completely set. And there we have some very delicious, very fudgy white chocolate and Baileys fudge. And another fantastic side effect, when I was making this, it filled the whole kitchen full of that lovely Baileys smell. It was delicious. But the combination of this fudge with the Baileys and the white chocolate just works so well. Because when you bite into one of these, you're going to say it tastes simply delish. Now to start off with, I have about 30 grams of dark chocolate chips. And to that I'm going to add a hot shot of espresso coffee. Now you can also use a tablespoon of instant coffee with about a 1/4 cup of boiling hot water. So we're just going to mix that through until our chocolate is completely melted in our coffee. Okay, next into a separate bowl I'm going to place in 2 teaspoons of sour cream, 1 egg yolk, a tablespoon of vegetable oil, and about 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla extract. And we're just going to whisk that up until it's well combined. And next we're going to add in our melted chocolate and coffee mixture. And again, mix it until it's well combined. Now once it's combined, I'm going to add in 1/3 cup of sugar. And we're just going to let that mix through until the sugar is well dissolved. Okay, now lastly I'm going to add in 1/2 cup of regular plain flour. And just a dash of baking soda or bicarb soda. And we're just going to simply mix it through. And now we're just going to evenly distribute our mixture between 4 cupcake trays. Okay, so now we're going to place this into a preheated oven at 180 degrees Celsius or 350 degrees Fahrenheit for 15 minutes. Now I've taken our cupcakes out of the oven and I've had them cooling down for about half an hour now. So next for our cream, into a mixing bowl I'm going to place in our thickened cream or whipping cream. And I'm just going to whip that up until we get to the soft peak stage. Okay, now that that's nicely whipped, I'm going to put in a couple of tablespoons of powdered sugar and a couple of tablespoons of Irish cream. And just whip it through until it's well combined. Now if you have a piping bag, feel free to use that. But what I've done is I've just used a Ziploc bag and I've just cut the corner off. So we're just going to carefully pipe it on top. And just give it a light dusting with some cocoa powder. Now there we have some absolutely delicious, absolutely creamy Mocha Irish cream cupcakes. Now as a little bonus, if you want to know how to make your own Irish cream, I'll leave a link down below to my video on how to make your own, and it is incredibly cheap compared to what you're going to buy in the shops. So these cupcakes are certainly an adult treat, so I wouldn't recommend that you share them with anyone underage. So whether you sneakily have them while they're at school, or you have them with some friends over, either way, they're going to taste simply delish. So we're going to start this recipe off by doing the base. So into a mixing bowl, I've got 250 grams of biscuits that I've just put through a food processor and chopped up. Now if you don't have a food processor, just put them into a Ziploc bag and bash them silly with a rolling pin, just till you get them nice and small like that. Then next I've melted 100 grams of butter, or half a stick. Just going to pour that right in. And we're just going to mix it all just until it's all well combined. And all the biscuits are wet from the butter. Okay, now that our biscuit base is done, I have a springform pan and I've just lined the base with some non-stick baking paper. So we're just going to grease it with some cooking spray oil. And we're going to place our biscuit mixture onto the base. So just spread it out so it's nice and even. And using the base of a flat cup, we're going to push it down so it's nice and firm. Okay, now that our base is pushed down and nicely firm, we're going to place this in the fridge to give it a chance to set while we get started on the cheesecake. Okay, so next I've got 600 grams of cream cheese that I've let soften to room temperature. So using a hand mixer or a stand mixer, we're going to beat this up until it's nice and soft. Okay, so now that our cream cheese is nice and soft, into that we're going to put in 100 ml of icing sugar or powdered sugar and about 25 ml of Baileys Irish cream. And of course I'll leave a link down below in the description to my own video on how to make your own Baileys Irish cream at home. So we're just going to mix that in until it's combined. Okay, once that's all combined, into a separate bowl I'm going to pour in 300 ml of whipping cream. And we're just going to whip that up until soft peaks form. And there we have it, nice and soft. Okay, so going back to our cream cheese mixture, going to place our whipped cream into the bowl. And next I have some milk chocolate that I've just roughly grated up. So just place that into our bowl. And we're just going to fold that through on low for just a couple of seconds, just until it's combined. Okay, so I've just taken our base out of the fridge. It is completely set. So now we're just going to place our cream cheese mixture on top of the base. So all that's left now is just to evenly spread it out, just so it's all nice and even. Now all we have to do is just simply place it into the fridge, and we're going to leave it in there for about 4 to 6 hours to completely set. Okay, so I've just taken it out of the fridge, cut up a slice, and it looks delicious. Now considering how good this is going to taste, it was incredibly easy to make. But with cream cheese, chocolate, and Irish cream, you can bet I'm going to give this a try. Oh, that is so good. You can taste all the flavors too. You can taste that cream cheese and the chocolate and that Baileys Irish cream. And they're in just the right amounts that they do not overpower each other. They work perfectly. And all they do is taste simply delish. Now we're going to start this off with our Brandy Snap cases. Now this time of year, they're pretty much available in most supermarkets. So I picked this one up from my local shop. They're very cheap. It's only a couple of dollars for a box of, say, 8. But if you're not sure, just Google it. I'm sure you'll find a location because at this time of year, most supermarkets sell them. So now we're going to make our delicious filling. So into a mixing bowl, we're going to place our thickened cream, also referred to as heavy cream or whipping cream. Now using a hand mixer or a stand mixer, we're going to beat this up until soft peaks form. Okay, so we're now at that soft peak stage. And to this we're going to add a 1/4 cup of icing sugar or powdered sugar. And then the delicious Baileys. Now if you can't find Baileys or you don't have any, check the link down below and I'll show you how to make your own very cheaply. And we're just going to quickly mix that through. Okay, so next we're going to grab our cream and I'm going to put it into a Ziploc bag. Okay, so I have our cream in our bag and I'm just going to cut the tip off the bottom corner. So now it's just a simple matter of grabbing our casing and placing the bag just on one end, and we're just going to pipe the mixture into our casing. Just till it sticks out the other end. And we're just going to add a little to this end, just so it's sticking out both, and it's done. Okay, once we've made them up, just get a little bit of icing sugar into a sieve, and we're just going to just slightly put some on top. And there we have it, our delicious Baileys filled brandy snaps. So assuming you buy your own brandy snap cases, they really just only take a few minutes to make, and they'll be a fantastic treat on Christmas Day. But I'm just dying to try one because I know how good they taste. Let's go. Oh, that is fantastic. The cases themselves have an almost candy type texture and flavour, but they also have a hint of brandy in them too. So it really does taste beautiful. But once you add that piping cold Baileys cream in there, I can guarantee you when you bite into these, you're going to think they taste simply delish. Now to start off with, I have a pot on the stove. Now this is on a low to medium heat. So to that we're going to pour in our sweetened condensed milk, then our Baileys Irish cream. Now if you don't have any Baileys, check the link down below where I'll show you how to cheaply make your own. And then finally our white chocolate chips. So now all we have to do is just stir this over this low to medium heat, just until the chocolate is nice and melted. Okay, so as you can see, the chocolate is now melted. It is almost completely combined. Not 100%, but at this point you want to turn the temperature off. And just continue stirring just for about another minute or so, just till it's completely combined. Okay, now that it's nicely combined, I have some pistachios. And what I've done is I've placed these in the oven on a tray at about 200 degrees Celsius for about, say, 10 minutes. And what that does is it just makes them nice and soft to eat. So we're just going to place that in. And don't forget, as always, I'll leave the ingredients in the description. So we're just going to just mix that in. Okay, next I've got a baking dish here. You want something relative size, it just depends on how much you make, of course. So what I've done is I've just lined it with some non-stick baking paper. And all we have to do now is just pour it in. Okay, so once done, I'm just going to place this into the fridge just for a couple of hours to completely set. Okay, so I've just taken it out of the fridge and it is ready to cut up. So using our flaps, we're just going to lightly, pull it out of the mold. Okay, and there we have it, our lovely, lovely fudge. Now this is a very soft fudge, so what I recommend is before you serve it, just place it into the freezer for about, say, half an hour just to cool it down a little bit more, just so it doesn't go all soft and gooey in the fingers. But with the infusion of the white chocolate and that lovely Baileys taste, there's only one thing I can say about this fudge, is that it's going to taste simply delish.